Well, there you have it, some of the unvarnished opinions that have endeared my next guest to viewers of NBC's hit show, The Apprentice. Each week, Trump relies on his two deputies to rate the strengths and foibles of contestants vying to become president of one of his companies. Few people know better exactly what it takes to succeed in the House of Trump than my mysterious and imperious duo who join me now. First in our studio, Trump General Counsel and Executive Vice President George Ross. And in New York City tonight, the Chief Operating Officer of Trump National Golf Clubs, Carolyn Kepscher. Thanks for being with us, to you both.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Well, you've known Trump, what, since the 70s. You represented him on his first big deal, the purchase of the Commodore Hotel. What's it like working for Donald Trump?
It's great.
Yeah, you just said something else in the break.
It's great. He's tough, but he's wonderful to work with.
I'm sorry. Carolyn, what is it like for you?
She got you. It is great. Every day is a new challenge. He's demanding, but he's fair. And I always say I've been with him for almost 10 years, and I still have a smile on my face.
Yeah, you said in the break, you said he's really demanding and he's tough.
Yes, he is.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So,
but anybody in his position has got to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's very successful, and part of his success is being tough.
You personally interviewed prospective candidates, is that right? How do you interview the prospective candidates as far as the next show? What are you looking for, George?
We're looking for somebody that's got the raw material to be a good executive, that can handle themselves in a pressure situation, and basically exhibits the characteristics that you would want in someone who could become a top executive.
And someone who also is going to be able to work with Trump, right?
Of course.
Carolyn?
I think it's somebody who can really bring something to the table. I mean, there's so many intelligent people out there, so many qualified people, but it's the special person who can really bring something to the table. He's also looking for a hard worker who's very, very honest, dedicated, and again, somebody who's creative, who can really think and get ahead.
What do you think are the one or two or three most important things a person needs when trying to get ahead?
I would say, first of all, they must be focused, and they must do a lot of planning, and they have to know who they're talking to and why they're talking to them, and they have to know a lot about the people that they're dealing with.
Do they need to know what they want? You know, oftentimes a person knows that they want to do well. Maybe they're smart, they're organized, but they don't really know what they want. And it's hard to get what you want if you don't know, right?
Absolutely right. You have to know, you have to be focused and know what you're looking for, and also what's going to impress the people that you're trying to impress.
How does Trump respond when people make a mistake? People make mistakes. I mean, if you're disloyal or you're dishonest, what kind of a reaction are you going to get from Donald Trump?
You don't have a chance.
You don't have a chance. You asked the wrong question. You had disloyalty and dishonesty at that point is immediate offense to be fired.
Okay, how about just a mistake? You know, it's an honest mistake.
Well, I don't know, honest mistakes. If it was just a mistake which was made because somebody didn't realize what was going on, and it was what we call an intelligent mistake, you may have come up to the wrong conclusion, but you didn't realize it.
I think he's very fair, and I think he'll kind of he allows you to take that risk. And if you take a good risk, he'll stand behind you. But as George said, with the disloyalty and the honesty, that's number one, that wouldn't work. But I think he'll stand behind you if you really made a calculated risk.
You've got to be able to take some risk.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. He vests his people with a lot of authority, and he lets them run with the ball. And hopefully at that point they'll do very well, but sometimes they'll fumble.
Lots of questions for you both. We'll take a short break. When we come right back, I'll ask George and Carolyn about some of the most memorable characters on the show, plus who's better at teamwork, men or women. Stay with us.
On CNBC, next showdown to the streets, and in the boardroom,
you're fired.
Encore Apprentice, CNBC tonight.
Get Dennis's take on The Apprentice 2 open auditions and see Montgomery Burns.
Excellent.
I mean Harry Shearer. Dennis Miller, CNBC tonight.
In the time that we've been here, I have yet to really see anything out of you. Every time you've been on the losing team, you sit there and you go, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Well, we failed on that end. You're right.
Okay.
And that's what I've seen from you.
I mean, that's
of course I am, but it's obviously our opinion that matters.
Yeah, I don't agree.
That's a clip from the show that you're going to watch after Special Report. It begins in about 10 minutes. I'm back now with Carolyn Kepscher and George Ross talking about The Apprentice. Carolyn, you had a run in there with Heidi. Were you always as forceful as you came across there? I mean...
Well, I'll tell you why I was a little tougher on Heidi, because I thought of all the women up to this point, I thought Heidi was the toughest. And when it came down to the boardroom and it was only her and Troy, I think at this point Heidi said she was so aggressive, she was so feisty. This was her opportunity to really come through and shine because she had a tough component was Troy. And if she really, you know, is that tough and that aggressive, if she came out and defended herself, and I think she could have because she's a tough girl, she had a chance of staying. But again, I think everything that happened with her mom, it really was on her mind. But I like Heidi. I think she's got a lot of spunk. And I think that would have done it for her in the boardroom. And I give her a lot of credit because I really do think she was one of the toughest competitors.
Is it always good to be tough and aggressive in business? I mean, sometimes people are too aggressive.
No, it's
and then
not,
they
but
get,
that, she said that was her
criticized for
attribute.
being some, you know, aggressive woman.
Sure, but she said that was her attribute. So, you know, I called her on it. I wanted to see if really that's what she was all about.
George, the perception is that people who are chosen or the character is going to make good drama. Is that part of what goes into it, choosing the character?
No, not from our part at all at that point. The directors and the producers never interfered with any of the decisions we made or told us who to leave because they felt that would be good television.
Give us a sense of the differences between men and women in business. We went out to the break a minute ago saying who's better team player, men or women. What other characteristics can you tell us about men versus women?
Well, I think men are better team players. I think also that they get over situations much quicker than women do. I think women have a tendency to consider sensitivity longer than men do.
Now, why are men better team players? That I don't get.
I think it's probably the way they brought up. They played in more team sports and so forth, and I think it's part of their
Carolyn, come on.
I'm just not agreeing.
Will you?
I love George, but I'm not agreeing with that one.
Okay. Then give us your sense of it.
Well, if you look at the the men and the women in this particular case, I think there was one woman that caused a lot of the breakdown. Because if you took that one person out, I think overall the women acted, I think they were working fairly well together. And I think it was one individual that caused the cat fights, etc., if you call it that. But I think the men in this particular case worked very well. But there are a lot of instances where women, bond together and they come full force.
What are you, one of these guys who thinks women cry in business all the time?
Oh, no. Come on.
No.
That's ridiculous. But women are fine in business at that point. They're many of them are very successful, and I've done a lot of business with them, and I respect them and treat them as equals.
Give me some memorable moments of some memorable characters. Tell us about Amorosa.
Well, Amorosa was a memorable character. I mean, the incident with she got hit with a piece of concrete. If you listen to her, at that point, it was the size of a brick. Well, actually, it was just a small piece of plaster, and she played it for all it was worth, even more than it was worth. And it's, it was something which her team recognized as being just a ploy to get some attention, and of course I think we recognized it too.
Well, that's certainly a negative, Carolyn, huh?
Well, I think she's doing whatever she can right now to really, reap as much attention as she can right now, and I think people are seeing through that.
How about Sam?
I like Sam. I think Sam, I think, Donald said he's going to be an absolute disaster or just, an amazing person. We'll have to see how Sam does, but I think overall he had a good attitude.
George?
Oh, Sam was great. Sam was great. He wanted to sell a glass of lemonade for $1,000. If he could have pulled it off, he'd have been a hero.
Right.
Of course, it's not totally realistic, but I think Sam did well. As a matter of fact, when I saw him, he says he's doing better now that he's fired than he did before.
How obsessive is Trump about the details? And do you need to be that obsessive in business?
He's very obsessive. He's
I agree.
very detail-oriented. Wouldn't you say, Carolyn?
Very, very detail-oriented. Absolutely. He involves himself in every, in construction to every paint color to everything.
Sometimes it's not so good if you're a boss to be involved in everything, right? I mean, sometimes you have to delegate.
No, I think Carolyn made a good point. When it comes to construction or it comes to something aesthetic, he's right there.
Right.
When it comes to what his people do, he supports them, basically gives them the right to do it, and he doesn't micromanage his key people at all.
Anything surprise you about the series so far? I mean, you must be surprised that now you're doing The Apprentice too, right? This is terrific.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're surprised, basically, that it took over so well and it was so well received. People who said, I never watch a reality show, say, this one I watch. And it really covers a broad spectrum of demographic and people.
Before we leave you guys, let me just ask you your sense of business right now. How are things going? Away from the program, you're there with your finger on the pulse. Anything changing in business these days?
Not as far as the Trump Organization is concerned. No, we're doing very well.
Good to have you both with us. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
George Ross, Carolyn Kaptur joining us tonight right before The Apprentice. We'll be right back with more Special Report.